President-elect Donald Trump says he plans to impose significant new tariffs on Canada, China, and Mexico when he takes office in January. And officials from both Lebanon and Israel say they are close to a new ceasefire deal. Good morning. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Asian markets are mostly down today. That's after President-elect Donald Trump announced he will impose significant new tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China once he takes office in January. NPR's Rebecca Rossman reports from Tokyo.
Worries about a potential trade war shook overseas markets after Trump vowed in a social media post to follow through on a campaign promise to impose tariffs on several countries. Canada and Mexico would be charged a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States, while China would be levied with an extra 10% tax. He said this was in response to illegal immigration and drug trafficking. Meanwhile, Wall Street saw gains yesterday, with the S&P 500 up and the Dow hitting a new record high. Stocks rose on expectations of lower interest rates and news that Trump wants hedge fund manager Scott Bessent as his Treasury Secretary. Rebecca Rossman, NPR News, Tokyo.
President-elect Trump has confirmed he will declare a national state of emergency and use the U.S. military in some form to launch his mass deportation of undocumented migrants. The Texas newsroom's Stella Chavez reports Republican state officials in Texas say they are prepared to help Trump carry out his promise.
Texas has spent the past few years strengthening its border security and enforcement. It's installed razor wire and buoys to deter crossings. It's bused migrants to blue states. And recently, it offered 1,400 acres of land to Trump for detention facilities. Joshua Trevino with the conservative Texas Public Policy Foundation expects the state and new administration to work together.
There's going to be a lot of deportations. There's going to be a greater focus on border security. But I think how that's done, we don't know what that looks like yet.
Immigrant rights and labor groups in Texas say they're worried about Trump's mass deportation plans. For NPR News, I'm Stella Chavez.
A federal judge has dismissed the federal election interference case against President-elect Trump. NPR's Ryan Lucas reports the move came after a request from special counsel Jack Smith.
Judge Tanya Chutkan's decision to dismiss the election interference case against Trump without prejudice comes just hours after Smith submitted his request with the court. In that filing, Smith said the government is confident in the strength and merit of the case against Trump, but that department policy prohibits the prosecution of a sitting president. In a separate filing, Smith is also moving to drop the other case he brought against Trump for hoarding classified documents. But prosecutors will continue the prosecution of Trump's two co-defendants in that case. Smith had been known to be winding down the cases following Trump's election win. Smith himself is expected to leave his post before Trump takes office. Ryan Lucas, NPR News, Washington.
Israeli warplanes continue to strike Hezbollah targets in Beirut, even as officials from Lebanon and Israel say they are close to a ceasefire agreement. NPR's Lauren Freyer reports from Beirut. Both countries' cabinets are meeting today and tomorrow to discuss details.
Lebanese lawmaker Simon Abi Ramia tells NPR his government has approved what he says would be an initial 2-month ceasefire. It calls for Israeli troops to withdraw from Lebanon and for Hezbollah to pull its fighters and weapons north of the Litani River, about 20 miles from the Israeli border. The Lebanese army would move in alongside United Nations peacekeepers. An international committee would also be set up to monitor implementation of the ceasefire. Israel had asked for the right to preemptively strike Hezbollah if it suspects militants of violating this agreement. But Abi Ramia says that provision is not part of the deal he's seen. Lauren Freyer, NPR News, Beirut.
The Biden administration is proposing that Medicare and Medicaid cover expensive weight loss medications for beneficiaries. These include drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. The White House says the medications could help millions of Americans with obesity. Automaker General Motors says it has reached a deal to enter one of the world's most prestigious auto racing series, Formula One. This comes after months of contentious talks and a Justice Department investigation. From member station WDET, Quinn Kleinfelter has more.
Formula One's ownership initially rejected a joint bid by GM's Cadillac brand and legendary racer Michael Andretti, arguing the proposed team would not bring enough value to the globe-spanning series. There was also a clash of personalities between Andretti and the head of Liberty Media, Formula One's commercial rights holder. The logjam seemed to break after both Andretti and Liberty Media's boss announced they would step down from leading their organizations. Now the renamed Cadillac F1 team is set to join the racing series in 2026. The deal also likely brings to a close a Justice Department investigation into whether Formula One's decision to block Andretti violated U.S. antitrust laws. For NPR News, I'm Quinn Kleinfelter in Detroit.
First Lady Jill Biden has received the White House Christmas tree. It will be decorated and set up in the White House Blue Room for the holidays. The Fraser fir tree comes from a North Carolina farm that was devastated by Hurricane Helene earlier this year. That farm lost thousands of other trees in the storm. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News.